What's good? It's your boy, Young JDR Sports, back with another ESPN fantasy football video. If you guys haven't already, simply go down, drop big thumbs up, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe if you guys are completely new. We're over 105 subs now. Let's keep this channel going. Subscribe to Young JDR as well. We are getting very close to 5K, less than 100 subs away from 5K. So yeah, make sure you guys do go check out over there. I'm going to be showing you guys my top 15 wide receiver rankings for 2021 season. You know what I mean? It's not too different, but I've been basing and looking off like ESPN's and Underdog Fantasy of what they think, and and this is my opinion, so you know what I'm saying. There's not too much difference, you know what I mean? You can't really argue too much until after the top 15 starts getting, you can make some big moves. But yeah, top 15 is pretty simple, you know what I mean? But I'll notice some guys I didn't put in here and why I have some other guys higher than others. All right, let's get into the video. All right, here's our 15th to 11th wide receiver rankings. All right, at 15 we got Mike Evans. All right. He's rated on 15th on ESPN, and on Underdog he's the 15 as well. So yeah, he barely made it in to our top 15. But I agree why he needs to be in here. Mike Evans, he just is super consistent. You know what I mean? As much as he always is ranked low, he's one of these great receivers. You know what I mean? Last year he hit 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 70 receptions. He's on a great receiving offense. You know what I mean? They really passed the ball in Tampa. So I mean, like, I really just think that if the volume can go up, because Mike Evans is one of those guys who's very inconsistent. So if you want a consistent receiver, definitely Mike Evans isn't really it. Because sometimes he might finish 20 to 40. You know what I mean? Some weeks he might go under 10. You know what I mean? But that's just wide receivers. You know what I mean? But yeah, Mike Evans is on a super high offense. I think last season Tom Brady attempted like 600 passes. That's going to be a big part of this video too, is how many attempts, you know what I mean, they're passing the ball. So yeah, the Buccaneers are a really pass heavy team, and Mike Evans is their number one wide receiver, and then Chris Godwin and AB, and then they have Gronk, so they're very stacked, but Mike Evans just makes the cut for me. At 14, I got Robert Woods. All right, Robert Woods is ranked 17th on on Underdog, and on ESPN he's ranked 13th. So I put him at 14. Why? I'm not a huge Rams wide receiver fan of Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods. I mean, I probably would rather prefer Cooper Kupp just because he's rated lower and I can get him for more value. But yeah, Robert Woods is really high up there, even though I think he's just slept on. But last year he finished with 90 receptions, 936 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And the main thing about him too is he had 24 carries for 155 yards and 2 more touchdowns. So in total, he had over 1,000 scrimmage yards and over 8 touchdowns. So I mean, it's solid. They also got a new quarterback, you know what I mean, Matthew Stafford, as you all know. So I don't know how that's going to switch stuff up. I know it seemed like Cooper Kupp and Jared Goff always got the work really good. So Robert Woods with Matthew Stafford, I think it's going to be good. You know, I mean, I think Robert Woods is always a little bit underrated. Even for myself, I think I'm not a huge fan on him. I don't select him, you know what I mean? But I do think I don't know. I just think he's not above in the 13. ESPN says 13. I don't think he is. I don't know. But Robert Woods is on a new offense. You know, it's going to be really pass heavy over there. But they also do have Cam Akers taking over. The offensive line's good. It's just going to be a good, productive offense. So, you know, I mean, Robert Woods just fits up there at the 14. All right, at our 13th, I got our boy, Allen Robinson. You know what I mean? Allen Robinson, he's rated 14th on ESPN, and he's rated, 13th on Underdog. So what do I have? I have him at the 13 as well. Oh yeah, I just think that Allen Robinson, you know what I mean, he's also just another underrated wide receiver. We're always thinking about these Julio Jones, Michael Thomases, I'm trying to think, like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hills, but Allen Robinson's up there, you know what I mean? He's up in the like top 15, but he just doesn't sound like it, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's kind of crazy, you know what I mean, that he's in this top 15 and people really just don't even think of him as that. Last season he finished with 1,250 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, and 102 receptions. Thing about this, which I love, is the Bears really have no receiving wide receivers besides Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, so you know what I mean, and they also do have a new QB situation with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields there. I don't know how that's going to quite work out. Supposedly Andy Dalton is going to be the starter for the first week, but I don't know. I think it's going to be better for Allen Robinson no matter what, though. He's going to be the main receiver. He's going to get a lot of volume in that offense, and I just think that whoever the quarterback is, if it's Justin Fields, I mean, oh my goodness, if it's Justin Fields, I think Allen Robinson's going to do better, but that's just how I think. So I hope Justin Fields does get the play, starting to play, because I think Allen Robinson will actually have a better year if he does play. But yeah, he is my rated 13th wide receiver, and our 12th is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, he is one of my wide receivers I'm not trying to draft. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, I'm trying to stay away, because they also have CD Lamb, which I will just say right now, CD Lamb was one of the receivers who didn't make the cut for the top 15. It was just really hard for me to put two Cowboys wide receivers in, and I just don't think CD Lamb, second year just can't really make it. But yeah, last year, Amari Cooper had 92 receptions, 1,114 receiving yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. The best thing about Amari Cooper is that, and he's on the Cowboys offense, the Cowboys, their defense is so bad, they're on offense half the time, and they are a really pass-heavy team, but they also run the ball. So that's why I also thought, I'm like, I can't add two Cowboys receivers because Zeke's going to be healthy, so they're going to run the ball still with Zeke. So I don't really know why they're saying that ESPN saying Amari Cooper 12, CD Lamb 17. That's just really hard for me to see them both doing top 20. I mean, it's not impossible, I know, and then they have Michael Gallup kind of highly rated too. So I mean, is it going to be that crazy? And then Zeke's is like the 6 rated running back. So like, what's going to happen? Like, how do all those guys produce? It's kind of like the Vikings. How do you expect Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook all to be great? At least one of them's got to go down. I'm still saying Amari Cooper's going to be good. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I got to put him on the rankings. If it was my completely just who I wanted to draft, he wouldn't be here. But this is the rankings, wide receiver rankings. Yeah. He's on an offense that passes a lot. Dak Prescott had 222 attempts and 151 completions. He had 1,856 yards, 9 passing touchdowns, and only 5 games. So that's crazy. And in those 5 games, I'm going to look, Amari Cooper had 18 points, 16 points, 17.6, 33.4, and then against the Giants, when Dak did get hurt, he only had 4.1. I just really am trying to stay away from Amari Cooper unless he really falls to me, just because how inconsistent he is. He's one of those Mike Evans. He either pops off or he doesn't pop off. And with the addition of CD Lamb doing good, it just kind of took away from him. All right. So yeah, that is our 12th rated receiver. Our 11th rated receiver, another super underrated wide receiver, really, really underrated. This man's been a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy for like a while, and he's still getting slept on. Keenan Allen, you guys can see. He had 100 receptions last year, 992 yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns. With Justin Herbert, coming in that offense, he did amazing. He's one of the consistent wide receivers that you guys want to get. We was talking about inconsistency and consistent. He is definitely a consistent wide receiver that I love. I see a lot of games where he's getting at least 20 points in 3 weeks in a row. That's just great to see. Also, he missed 2 weeks, so and then week 15 he only had 1 reception. So yeah, he could have even had 1,000 yards and even moved them up. But I think he's just really good. He's rated 11 for me, 11 on ESPN, and Underdog he is rated. Let's see, where's he at? Keenan Allen 10. So yeah, around 10. I agree with that. Just because he's a top 10 receiver. They also have Mike Williams. Austin Eckler gets a lot of targets, but I just think that this Los Angeles Chargers team is a really pass-heavy team as well. And pass-heavy teams, the receivers are highly rated, and Keenan Allen gets the volume. He's really productive with what he does too. I just love him. I think he's a really underrated wide receiver, and I'm definitely going to be trying to look at him later in my drafts for sure. So that's my 11th rated receiver. All right, now I think this is where it kind of gets spicy too. Not really the top 5, but 10 through 6. I'm going to show you guys right now. Yeah, you guys probably reading names like, wow, it's a little bit different when people thought, it's a little bit. But yeah, if we did 20 to if we did from 16 to 25, there would be a lot of stuff. Like I'd be rating like DJ Chark up in there, maybe Cortland Sutton high up in there. The receivers I'm really high on. Cooper Kupp even I'd probably put up higher. Julio would be in there, but those are just an example. So from the 10th to the 6th, all right, to 10th receiver, I was really debating on this one, Terry McLaurin or Michael Thomas. If I made this video a month later or something, or I knew what the situation with the Saints were, I'd probably say Michael Thomas. If Taysom Hill is going to be getting some snaps, at QB, I don't like it at all. Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara did nothing. Really played horrible when Taysom Hill was QB, really. You know what I mean? He did have a couple good games later on, but the first week when Taysom Hill was QB against Denver, he only had 9.1 fantasy points. You know what I mean? Then he had 19.5, 16.4. He only played, I'm trying to think how many games he even played. It doesn't even look like a lot. He missed a bunch of games, you know what I mean? Just the injuries. He's had so many injuries. You know what I mean? In 2019, they said he had the really good year. So then last year, they said he was like the number one wide receiver. That's why I'm not sold on Devontae Adams yet. You know what I mean? But they said he was the number one wide receiver. And if you drafted him in the first round, huge bust. Huge bust. Even when he played and had good games, he didn't have a game over 20 points, you know what I mean? So very disappointing. The games he did do good on were against horrible defenses like Atlanta and Philadelphia. They have no secondary, you know what I mean? And then when they do play hard opponents like Tampa or Denver, he only averages around 10. You know what I mean? In the first week, he only had 4.7. So I am really not sold. If Jameis Winston's QB, maybe I probably would rate him at my 9th. But I just think that Taysom Hill is obviously going to get a lot of snaps. You know what I mean? Last year, they chose Taysom for the last year, though. For the long run, they're probably going to pick Jameis. But still, I think Michael Thomas, if Taysom Hill does get snaps, he's not the way to go. When I say that, though, not the way to go, I mean, you can still draft him for sure, but just I'm not going to reach for him. You know what I mean? I'm not going to pick him. I'm not rating him in my top 5. You know what I mean? I'm not rating him that high, all right? So for my 9th, though, Terry McLaurin. I just really think that Terry McLaurin is going to be you know what I mean? He's just having a breakout. He's just slowly getting better. I could see him being one of the wide receivers of the future. Same with DK, AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley. I really want to see those guys in the future. When Devontae and Stephon Diggs are old. You know what I mean? These guys are going to be in their prime. Terry McLaurin finished with 87 receptions, 1,118 yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. You know what I mean? They added Curtis Samuel. I'm not too worried about that, honestly. Ryan Fitzpatrick's also the new QB for the team. He's just a very consistent wide receiver, sort of. You know what I mean? He gets the volume that you want to see. I see so many games right here. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's had 8 games with 7 receptions. You know what I mean? That's a lot of fantasy points right there. His yards, he only had 3 games only over 100 yards, receiving yards. So not too much. And then his touchdowns haven't been great as well. But I think the offense is going to improve with Antonio Gibson, and they're getting better. So I think when the offense improves, and Logan Thomas is actually getting better at the end of the season. So when the offense improves as a whole, you know what I mean, more scoring, you know what I mean, more touchdowns for Terry McLaurin. So I think Terry McLaurin's going to get a little bit better from what he did last year, and that's why I'm rating him at my number 9. At my number 8, this is kind of hard one. I was going AJ Brown, you know what I mean, Justin Jefferson, DK. ESPN's ranking AJ Brown over Jefferson, and I'm not a crazy Jefferson believer, you know what I mean? I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sold on Jefferson yet. But AJ Brown's also, he's the 6th rated receiver on Underdog, and 7 on ESPN and 8 on my list. So I love AJ Brown. I really did love AJ Brown. I'm serious. I was sold on him. He's my 2nd favorite wide receiver behind DK Metcalf. You know what I mean? DK Metcalf's still my favorite wide receiver. But looking at it right here, all right, AJ Brown's 8th. So you might think that's a little slept on, but here's why. You have to look at Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill only had 481 attempts last year. Other receivers that we were talking about on this list had QBs that threw over 600 times in the year. So he only threw 481 attempts, and I could see, I could see that being around there again, 480, 500 maybe. Maybe increasing the 500 because of Julio, but that's the thing. He's thrown only 480 to 500, and they just added Julio. So more of those attempts are going to be away from A.J. Brown, going to Julio, you know what I mean? I just am not sold on it. You still got Derrick Henry in the backfield, you know what I mean? I love A.J. Brown. I think he's a great receiver, and he's going to be one of the best, you know what I mean, in the future. And he's great in fantasy. Honestly, I'm not sold with just what they did, adding Julio Jones. Once I saw Julio Jones go into him, I know A.J. Brown loves it. I know A.J. Brown doesn't care about his fantasy value. You know what I mean? He's happy that they have a team to go win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's good. That's what he should be focused on. But we're focused on about fantasy points, and I just don't think he's going to do as crazy because Ryan Tannehill is only throwing 181 passes, and they just added Julio Jones. All right, so Justin Jefferson at 7's kind of like the same situation, but you look at it. Kirk Cousins threw for 516 attempts, you know what I mean? But they also have Thielen and Dalvin Cook. But I just think that, you know what I mean, with more pass attempts in the Vikings offense than the Titans. And Justin Jefferson is like, you know what I mean? Justin Jefferson is going to get way more volume than probably Adam Thielen this year. Not way more, I mean, but, you know what I mean, more volume. I think we've kind of, you know what I mean, it just seems that Justin Jefferson's going to take over. Adam Thielen really didn't do too much last year. He did actually a lot. I'm doubting Adam Thielen, my bad. I'm trying to stay away from Adam Thielen, though, just because, you know what I mean, I feel like he's just going to go down a little bit, you know what I mean? He's very inconsistent wide receiver. He does have breakout games, though. He had 14 receiving touchdowns last year. I don't know if that's going to happen again. And Justin Jefferson had 7 receiving touchdowns, but 1,400 yards and 88 receptions. One of the best rookie wide receiver years of all time, you know what I mean? That's just crazy. I'm not going to rate him too high, but 7 I think is perfect for him, you know what I mean? I think the Vikings offense is kind of like the Cowboys. How do you have 3 guys, Dalvin Cook, Jefferson, and Thielen, all do very good? So I think Thielen might take a drop. Same with Dalvin Cook a little bit. But I do think Justin Jefferson's going to stay solid just because how young he is. And, you know what I mean, how athletic, and he just hasn't got hurt. And he's just really productive with what he does. At our number 6, I got DK Metcalf. Julio Jones was actually maybe going to the Seahawks, which kind of scared me. But DK Metcalf is still on Seattle with Tyler Lockett. Last year he had 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's a really deep wide receiver, you know what I mean? He kind of struggled a little bit, you know what I mean? He wasn't the most consistent wide receiver, you could say. But he also had really good games, 40 points. And then the first 3 weeks he had 19, 19, 19 basically. So, you know what I mean? He had a couple games under 5 points. But, yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about this situation with Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf switched times with having big games. But I think DK is just going to get better. Russell Wilson says he's staying on Seattle for long term. And I just think that DK Metcalf, with more time of Russell Wilson, you know what I mean, they're just developing more and more. You know what I mean, 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, Tyler Lockett was the number 1. DK Metcalf actually, I think, took over to become the number 1. He's so athletic, you know what I mean, he's just a beast on the field, and he just makes every single catch count. You know what I mean, he can run, he can score, he can do it all, and that's what we just love about him. You know what I mean, he can really take... Even if he doesn't get the volume, he can do anything. You know what I mean? He can run for 1,300 yards. But yeah, 83 receptions, so not the most receptions, but still. I think he will do probably around there again, but I just can't wait to see how he does this year and hopefully a little bit better. Alright, I'm not completely sold on this, and I know a lot of people aren't either. Everyone's rating him at 5. ESPN, Underdog, and myself is rating him at 5. Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones left. They added Kyle Pitts, though. Calvin really did solid last year. Honestly, I kind of slept on him. I didn't realize. Calvin Ridley, you look at his stats, he had 90 receptions, 1,374 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So you could even say he had a better year than DK, which is kind of why I'm rating him higher than DK, though, too. But also, you go down and look, he had the first 3 games, he had over 100 yards. Then he took 1 game, he was out, and then had 100 again. He's had so many games with 100-yard receivings. He had so many games with 100 yards of receiving, and he's had multiple. Just the first 2 weeks, he had 2 touchdowns, but they were also against not the best defenses. I just think with Julio gone, it could be that Juju AB situation. A lot of people were like, "Nah, Calvin Ridley is different." You know what I mean? But we also said that about Juju. And as soon as AB left, what did Juju do? Now Juju's not even rated in the top. He's the 30th wide receiver. You know what I mean? Everyone hates Juju now, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say he's 5, but I'm not sure, you know what I mean? I'm going to just trust that he is going to be the number 1, and he's going to keep producing what he did. But yeah, he's going to be having to go against those number 1 cornerbacks now, you know what I mean? So that's the only thing I don't like about it, you know what I mean? But I just think if he can still play against the good defenses and still produce, he'll be fine, all right? But yeah, I'm not sold on him. Not sold on him for sure, but I'm still going to rate him at 5. Number 4, DeAndre Hopkins joined the Cardinals last year, really did well. 115 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think he will get into the end zone more even this season. But you know, I mean, Kyler Murray loves to use his legs for himself too. DeAndre Hopkins is probably one of the most consistent wide receivers you guys could draft in fantasy. You know what I mean? He just never really has a bad week. He only had like 3 games that was under 10 points. So yeah, I wouldn't overdraft DeAndre Hopkins. I would not overdraft any receiver. But yeah, just because how inconsistent they can be. But DeAndre Hopkins is really good on volume, and I think him and Kyler Murray are just going to get even better, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to repeat what he just did, but I think DeAndre Hopkins is, you know what I mean? He just is so consistent with throughout his whole entire career. He could even be getting better, you know what I mean? So not too much to say about that. We're not going to spend too much time talking about these last guys just because they're so easy, you know what I mean? I am saying this, though. I'm switching up a little bit. At 3, I'm saying Tyreek Hill. A lot of ESPN says 2 for Tyreek Hill, and an Underdog says 1 for Tyreek Hill is where he's getting drafted at his ADP. Tyreek Hill's ADP on Underdog Fantasy is the number 1 out of any receiver. I like it, but also I don't like it, you know what I mean? And here's the reasons. Tyreek Hill doesn't get the volume you really want for wide receiver, you know what I mean? Compared to, we said DeAndre Hopkins, over 100 receptions. Tyreek Hill only had 87 for 1,276 yards, and you're saying that he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver picked. That's also because he had 15 touchdowns. And he also does get a little bit of runs sometimes too, so he had 17 touchdowns in total last year. I just don't see it, though. He's just really one of those big, deep opponent guys. You know what I mean? He's kind of one of those. He is very consistent actually for a receiver, surprisingly, even though he's just one of those, you know what I mean? He has those explosive games, but yeah, he's actually really consistent, and I think, honestly, he is going to have a good year, but I just can't see him doing anything like he did last year, you know what I mean? He had that 50-point game against Tampa that really, 57.9 points that really carried him up to this, you know what I mean, his ranking, but I just think that Stephon Diggs and Adams just are a little bit more productive and going to get more volume because Chiefs already have Kelsey as well. You know, I mean, Kelsey takes a lot of receiving yards and a lot of targets. Number 2, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, we're talking about volume, 127 receptions, 1,535 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So yeah, he didn't have the touchdowns that Tyreek Hill had, but he could this year. Because they also lost John Brown. So, you know, I mean, that's really good. Look at this, though. You know what I mean? Stephon Diggs is just a beast. Stephon Diggs is a beast. 1,500 yards, the most receiving yards. You know what I mean? Most receptions, I believe, too, in the NFL. He's just really productive. You know what I mean? He went from the Vikings to the Bills, and his first year with the Bills, he did that. I don't know. I definitely think he could do good again. You know what I mean? I love Stephon Diggs. I don't know. These besides DeAndre Hopkins, I think these top 5 wide receivers could have a huge flop like Michael Thomas did, not going to lie. Yeah, I think Hopkins will be really consistent. I'm not too worried about Diggs, and I mean, but they're all just kind of, you know what I mean, they might be top 10, but they might not finish top 5 receivers, you know what I mean? But still, I don't know. I say Diggs at number 2, and then Devontae with 18 touchdowns last year. He's not going to repeat that. I mean, maybe he will, but Rodgers situation hasn't been really confirmed yet. Supposedly he renewed his golf pass or whatever at Country Club in Green Bay or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really mean much because he also was supposedly playing golf with one of Denver's, I think John Elway. So, like, you know what I mean? And he still says he wants out, and it's the most confusing situation ever. And if Aaron Rodgers does go out, I think Devontae might try to leave or just not have a great year. I mean, obviously he's going to do good, but not as great as he's not going to be a number 1 wide receiver. So I think if I made this a month or later, when everything was confirmed, Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams would be a little bit different. But yeah, that is my top 15 rankings. Mike Evans at 15, Robert Woods, Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Adams. Make sure you guys do go comment your favorite wide receiver out of these 15. Drop a big thumbs up and subscribe if you guys are new. But until next time, peace.